W at this junction in time would be better without Caitlin Clark because she is a bigger distraction than she is an additive.
If our team saw it happen, because I promise you, if we would have seen that happen, we would have had her back. Unfortunately, this type of shit happens every single game to her, and the league and the refs do absolutely nothing about it.
And Sophie Cunningham finally had enough, because this was not just another hard foul. This was not just another physical WNBA moment that fans argued about online. This was the kind of play that made people stop and ask the same question again. Why does this keep happening to Caitlin Clark?
Fight over what the WNBA called a flagrant foul. The Phoenix Mercury's Alyssa Thomas appears to put her fist on Caitlin Clark's throat as they scrambled for a loose ball during a game on Wednesday night. Thomas was suspended one game, but now some are coming to her defense saying it was hard play, not a dirty play. Here's ABC's Perry Russum.
Days after the WNBA announced this apparent fist pressed against the neck of superstar Caitlin Clark warranted a suspension.
To the ground and
Tonight, her Indiana Fever teammate Sophie Cunningham speaking out on her podcast, saying the two-time All-Star is being targeted and more needs to be done to protect her.
They're definitely targeting her, and the league and the refs do nothing to protect her.
The growing discussion across the league and beyond stems from this moment Wednesday night. Phoenix Mercury forward Alyssa Thomas falling on Clark, scrambling for the ball.
During the Fever versus Mercury game, Clark ended up in another ugly collision. Alyssa Thomas made contact near Clark's throat area. Clark went down, and in real time, the officials did not treat it like the major moment it later became. But once the replay started spreading, the reaction changed fast. Fans saw the contact. They saw Clark hit the floor. They saw how dangerous it looked.
So when a player makes illegal contact, it's called a personal foul, which means this would be. So that would, that's a personal foul. No, there is no foul. It's because that's why. But when a player makes unnecessary illegal contact, then it's called a flagrant one foul, which means this would be. Let's see, that's unnecessary. Yep, that's a flagrant one foul. No. What would you think? The player made normal illegal contact, which means it's just a personal foul. See what I mean? The player was just trying to get into a defensive position and accidentally made contact with the other player. That's why. But when the illegal contact is unnecessary and excessive, then that would be a flagrant two foul, which means this would be. So that's unnecessary and excessive. That would be a flagrant two foul. No. Flagrant one foul? No.
And then the league came back after the game and upgraded the play. Alyssa Thomas was assessed a flagrant foul 2 and suspended for 1 game.
At one point, Thomas appears to push into Clark's neck.
a hand to the neck.
Absolutely disrespectful. We have a generational talent and a WNBA superstar.
No foul was given during that game, but the WNBA reviewed the play and issued a flagrant foul against Thomas and suspended her for 1 game for recklessly making contact with her fist to the throat area. Mercury coach Nate Tibbetts questioning the investigation process, saying he's disappointed with the suspension.
The goal is to clean up our game, but I do think it's important not to rely on social media screenshots. This is a slippery slope, and let's watch the whole play, the whole game.
Tibbetts standing up for Thomas, a WNBA veteran and 6-time All-Star, calling her a tough competitor.
And that is where the outrage exploded. Because if the play was serious enough for a flagrant foul too after review, why was it not handled properly during the game? That is the problem. It is not just the foul, it is the delay. It is the feeling that Caitlin Clark has to get hit first, go viral second, and only then does the league react.
What many perceive as consistency issues, especially when it comes to games being officiated, Lisa.
Well, officiating is tough. I don't know if anybody's ever even tried to officiate. It's not the easiest game. It's one of the most thankless jobs you can do. But in this particular situation, I thought that the last official should have been able to catch that. I was actually watching this game and I was like, oh, wow, that was a bit much. So in that moment, I thought that the official missed the call. I'm not surprised that the league went back and fined Alyssa Thomas. But I think at the same time, it's tough to think that official would have missed that they didn't have a replay on it. That was tough to me.
That is why Sophie Cunningham's comments hit so hard. Sophie was asked about the physical treatment Clark has been dealing with, and she did not give a safe answer. She did not protect the league. She did not pretend everything was fine. She said that in real time, she did not see the play happen. But then she made one thing very clear. If they had seen it, they would have had Clark's back.
Our team saw it happen, because I promise you, if we would have seen that happen, we would have had her back. Unfortunately, this type of shit happens every single game to her, and the league and the refs do absolutely nothing about it.
It's been a minute since you got fined on this podcast.
I have, but then like you see the videos of like literally kneeing and cheap shotting C in the throat. Like if she did that to any of our teammates, we'd be pissed. But like they're definitely targeting her, and the league and the refs do nothing to protect her.
That one line told fans everything. Because Sophie was not speaking like a media personality. She was speaking like a teammate. She was saying, "We missed it live, but if we knew what happened, this would not have just been ignored." Then she went even further. She said this type of stuff happens every single game to Caitlin Clark. And she said the league and the refs do nothing about it. That is why this became bigger than Alyssa Thomas. That is why this became bigger than one game. Because Sophie did not just call out a foul, she called out a pattern. And that pattern is what Clark fans have been screaming about all season. They see Clark getting bumped. They see her getting grabbed. They see her getting knocked down. They see defenders being extra physical with her. And every time it happens, the same argument starts.
Hey, Caitlin Clark, if you're gonna have big reactions, you're gonna have big consequences. I got a technical foul for clapping. I guess if we're just gonna get a foul for clapping. Maybe you weren't doing it like this. Maybe you really in someone's fucking face. Maybe that's why. Maybe throwing your hands up and fucking screaming at everybody and getting in everybody's face every time you don't get what you want. Yeah, people get a little bit irritated with that. Coming from an athlete, those players piss me the fuck off. You gotta humble them a little bit. Just a little. I'm so tired of this racism. Fucking, it's racism. It's not. It's actually not, because if it were Angel Reese on the ground, y'all would be saying, it's just the game. Welcome to the big league.
Some people say it is just basketball. Some people say Clark fans are too sensitive. Some people say she needs to toughen up. But Sophie Cunningham basically said, no, this is not normal. This is targeting. And the league is not doing enough. That is a massive statement, because fans can say that all day. Commentators can say it. YouTubers can say it. But when another WNBA player says it, it lands differently. Sophie is on the court. She is in the locker room. She sees the way teams defend Clark. She sees the way the contact builds. She sees the way Clark has to keep getting up while everyone else debates whether it was really that bad. And that is why her reaction felt so real. She did not sound like someone chasing attention. She sounded like someone frustrated that it had reached this point. Now, Alyssa Thomas has her side too. She pushed back on the way the situation was being talked about. She said the narrative had gone too far. She talked about players being painted badly. And that part matters too. Nobody should be threatened over basketball.
Alyssa, you said that the league still hasn't reached out to you in the aftermath of everything, of the incident and like vitriol and stuff like that on social media. How do you feel like they could better support you in this incident?
I think it's not even about the suspension. If that's what they felt was necessary in that moment, then so be it. But I think there's a lot of other plays that you can say the same about. I think the biggest thing is it's just about our safety. We're so concerned about the safety on the court, but time and time again we're having people threatening our lives, leaking addresses out there, putting crazy pictures that have nothing to do with basketball. So
nobody should have their personal safety put at risk because of a play in a game. That is not accountability. That is just wrong. But here is where the story splits. Thomas is talking about the backlash. Sophie is talking about the contact. And fans are talking about the pattern. Those are three different conversations happening at once. And that is why this story has become so explosive. Because if you only talk about the backlash, you miss why people were angry in the first place. But if you only talk about the foul, you miss how ugly the reaction became after it. The real issue is bigger than one player. It is bigger than one suspension. It is bigger than one missed call. The real issue is whether the WNBA knows how to protect the biggest star it has. Caitlin Clark changed the league. She changed the ratings. She changed the attention. She changed ticket demand. She brought in people who were not watching before. And whether people like it or not, when Clark goes down, the whole league feels it. That does not mean she should get special treatment. It means the standard has to be clear. If a player takes dangerous contact, call it. If a foul crosses the line, handle it in real time. Do not wait until the internet explodes. Do not wait until fans slow the replay down. Do not wait until the damage is already done. That is the frustration Sophie Cunningham exposed. She did not just defend Caitlin Clark, she exposed the league's biggest problem. The WNBA keeps saying it wants more attention, but attention comes with pressure. It comes with scrutiny. It comes with fans watching every missed call, every replay, and every decision. And right now, fans do not trust that Clark is being protected properly. That is why Sophie's not sorry energy matters. She did not sound like someone walking her comments back. She sounded like someone who believed the league needed to hear it. She sounded like someone who believed Clark has taken enough. And now the question is simple. Was Sophie Cunningham right to go this hard after Alyssa Thomas? Did she finally say what everyone else was thinking? Or did she take an already heated situation and push it even further? Because one thing is clear, if Caitlin Clark keeps ending up on the floor and the league only reacts after the internet forces its hand, this debate is not going away. It is only going to get louder.
Because here's the thing, like the narratives that surround Caitlin Clark are just really interesting. You know, the idea that she's protected by the league, the idea that everyone's going after her because she's been so heavily promoted, which, listen, the promotion of Caitlin Clark based on what she did in college, I think is fairly justified. She was doing incredible stuff over there, and I didn't love this aspect. I understood, but I didn't love this aspect. I felt like when Caitlin Clark first got in the league, and it wasn't just her, other young people that were getting in the league at the time, a lot of new eyeballs were coming over to the W, and it seemed like there was a little bit of the old guard that was relatively annoyed by the new kids coming into the school.
There is a spot on the floor that should genuinely terrify every defender in the WNBA. For most players, it is too deep. For most coaches, it is a bad shot. For most defenses, it is where possessions go to die. But for Caitlin Clark, that spot is where the defense starts panicking. Because when she crosses half court, the game changes. Not at the three-point line, not at the wing, not when she gets into the paint. The second she steps over the logo, defenders have to make a decision. Do we pick her up now? Do we back up? Do we send help? Do we switch? Do we trap? And that is the problem. By the time a defender is asking those questions, Caitlin Clark has already won the possession.
It's perfectly constructed. Oof. I do believe that, you want Caitlin Clark's the best pick and roll player in the league. You want to stretch four. This Indiana roster hasn't been constructed to give her the most space possible, in my opinion.
In all of our opinion, Ryan.
This is why she is a nightmare to guard. It is not just because she shoots deep. Plenty of players can shoot. It is not just because she passes. Plenty of guards can pass. It is not just because she plays fast. Plenty of players are quick. It is because she does all of it at the same time.
Caitlin Clark is back. She just had 32 points. That was crazy. 8 rebounds, 9 assists. I mean, right there, almost having another triple-double. How hard is it or fun is it to play against Cece out there?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't played her this season.
You haven't played her this season? Okay.
No, only had a chance to play her last season. But, I mean, she brings the show, literally with her game and then also with the fans on the road.
And that is what makes her different. Let's start with the obvious one. The range. Clark does not stretch the floor like a normal shooter. She stretches it until the defense looks broken. A normal three-point threat makes you guard the arc. Caitlin makes you guard the parking lot. And that might sound dramatic, but watch the way teams defend her. They are not casually meeting her at the line. They are picking her up high. They are sending extra bodies. They are shading help before she even starts the action.
She's obviously doing amazing. Her game speaks for itself. I think my favorite part is just women's basketball, women's sports really, but women's basketball has been on the rise. And it's kind of like what Magic and Bird was to men's basketball, like this moment, we kind of needed something.
This is
to
that
just
moment.
Yeah, and Caitlin's that moment. And I think a lot of it has to do with her logo threes. A lot of, I mean, speaking of John 529 from Twitter,
Yeah.
like, oh, women don't dunk.
Yeah.
That's what he sounds like.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, of course, women don't dunk.
Yeah.
That's why I don't watch.
But you can't really talk trash on a logo three.
So a logo three is
Deep. That's
deep. That's almost half court where the NBA,
She's-
where
and that's
the
like
WNBA
literally-
logo is. Yeah.
Literally what
and
she's
she
shooting
just,
from.
it's just fact.
Why? Because they know if she gets one clean look from deep, the entire energy of the game can flip. That is the fear factor, and the scariest part is not even the shot itself. It is how fast it comes out of her hands. You can be in decent position and still be late. You can think you have recovered and still watch the ball fly over your fingertips. That is what separates a good shooter from a defensive emergency.
I think in particular, there's been so much attention around Caitlin Clark this season in terms of not just her play and how she's coming back from injury in year 3, but how she's handling some emotional moments in high pressure situations and her leadership. And you know what it's like to be a franchise player. You know what it's like to win. You know what it's like to play at the highest level. What does that development stage look like for a franchise player at that level?
It's tough. It's tough because you're actually a franchise player. You're carrying a franchise. And to be honest, in some ways, she's been, carrying a lead. She elevated a lead.
With Clark, there is almost no warning. One dribble, step back, release, and suddenly the defender is turning around hoping the shot misses. But here is where it gets worse. If you crowd her, she is not helpless. She is not just some standstill shooter waiting for a screen. She can put the ball on the floor, force the defense to collapse, and then punish the help with a pass most guards would not even see. That is the trap. Back up, and she shoots. Press up, and she attacks. Send help, and she finds the open player. Stay home, and you leave your defender on an island. There is no comfortable answer. And that is why the Caitlin Clark conversation gets so funny sometimes. Because publicly, you will hear people downplay it. They will say she turns it over too much. They will say she shoots too much. They will say teams have figured her out.
My daughter wants to see her play. She was there with a bunch of her teammates from her rec league team, and all we were watching was Caitlin Clark missing shots. The reason why she was missing shots, I will tell you this. The Sparks treated her like the Pacers and the Sixers treated Jalen Brunson. They picked her up on the floor, all 94 feet. They made every minute of her night an absolute nightmare. They were all over her. There was no way, and for her to get her shot, she's trying to come off of screens that either weren't working or they had two people marking her, it seemed like.
But then you watch the actual games, and the defense tells a completely different story. Teams do not build an entire defensive coverage around a player they are not worried about. They do not pick someone up at three-quarter court for fun. They do not send early help, switch matchups, burn timeouts, and change schemes at halftime because of hype. Defenses tell the truth. And the truth is, the league knows Caitlin Clark bends the floor in a way very few players can. That is the word people need to understand. Gravity. Clark's biggest weapon is not just the points she scores, it is the attention she steals.
But what she was doing, she was dishing. Some of her passes, I know she passed Pistol Pete at the collegiate level as the all-time greatest scorer. Some of her passes look just, they were just as crisp, innovative. I didn't see that on the floor. She did type of passes. They were amazing. And to the point where some of her teammates weren't ready for it, or they were, and they're not used to it from her yet. And it would just bounce off their hands and go out of bounds.
When she has the ball, two defenders are thinking about her, sometimes three. Even when she does not shoot, she has already changed the possession. A defender takes one step too high and the lane opens. A help defender leans too far toward her and someone else is free. A big steps up too early and now the roller has space. That is basketball pressure. That is what superstars do. They make the other team defend possibilities, not just actions. And Caitlin has more possibilities than almost anyone. She can shoot from 30. She can hit the roller. She can throw the skip pass. She can push in transition. She can drag 2 defenders with her and turn a normal possession into a scramble. That is exhausting to guard. And here is the part people do not say enough. Guarding her is not just a physical challenge. It is a mental one. You cannot relax for 1 second. You cannot lose her in transition. You cannot go under a screen. You cannot assume the shot is too deep. You cannot assume the pass is not coming. That kind of pressure wears teams down. Now, to be fair, this does not mean she is perfect. She turns the ball over. That is real. But a lot of those turnovers come from the same thing that makes her dangerous. She attempts passes that most players do not even imagine. Sometimes those passes create layups. Sometimes they fly out of bounds. That is the tax you pay when your offense runs through someone who is constantly trying to break the defense open. Her defense has also been criticized. Physical teams have tried to body her, bump her, speed her up, and make every catch uncomfortable. And yes, that has worked at times. So when I say Caitlin Clark is a nightmare to guard, I am not saying she is unstoppable every night. Nobody is. What I am saying is that stopping her costs too much. You can slow down her shot, but now you're giving up space somewhere else. You can trap her, but now the Fever are playing 4-on-3. You can make her give it up, but now the ball is moving against a tilted defense. That is the nightmare. You might survive the possession, but you rarely get to defend normally. And that is the real compliment. Not the fake quotes, not the over-the-top headlines, not the made-up stories about legends being terrified. The real compliment is the way teams guard her. The game plan is the respect. Because when Caitlin Clark is on the floor, every defender knows one mistake can turn into a highlight. One late closeout, one lazy switch, one step too far under a screen, and the ball is already in the air. That is why she is a nightmare. Not because she is loud, not because she is popular, not because of the media attention, because her skill set forces the entire defense to play scared. So here's the question. If you are an opposing coach, what are you actually doing? Are you selling out to stop the 3 and living with the assists? Or are you staying home and praying she has an off night? Because either way, you are not really solving Caitlin Clark. You are just choosing how you want her to beat you.
I'm sick of watching Caitlin getting attacked. If the league doesn't step up and protect her, things are going to get ugly real fast.
One of the greatest shooters who has ever lived watched Caitlin Clark play basketball and basically described watching himself.
Her range, her three-point shooting overall, her flair for testing her range every night and knowing that the other team's going to try to take it away. And she's fearless. No shot is a bad shot, and when you can shoot it as well as she can, she just adds another element of surprise that you can't really game plan for because it's so kind of just unseen. Once she crosses half court, she's within her range. It's always a threat. Biggest thing is how she balances that and her playmaking ability to get everybody else involved.
No fake mic grab, no live TV meltdown, no made-up drama. The real story is much better than that. Because when Stephen Curry talks about Caitlin Clark, he does not sound like someone just being polite. He sounds like someone who recognizes part of his own game in another player. And that matters. Because Steph Curry is not just a great shooter, he is the shooter who changed basketball forever. He changed where defenders have to pick players up. He made the logo 3 feel normal. He made every kid in a gym think they could pull up from ridiculous range. So when Curry looks at Caitlin Clark and says her release is basically identical to his, that is not just a nice compliment. That is a basketball earthquake.
Somebody break down the release time, which is pretty much identical to mine. And then her just confidence, you can't help but watch when she plays, where she's shooting from, the range, the confidence, the flair, like she's a performer.
Think about what he is really saying. He is not only talking about the distance, he is talking about the speed, the rhythm, the confidence, the way the ball is gone before the defense can even react. That is what makes Clark different. And that is why the Curry comparison hits so hard. Because nobody understands that kind of shooting better than Steph Curry. He knows how hard it is to shoot from deep. He knows how hard it is to do it under pressure. He knows what it feels like when defenses are built around stopping you before you even cross half court. So when Curry praises Caitlin Clark, he is not just saying she can shoot. He is saying I know exactly how hard this is.
There's been a lot of talk about Caitlin Clark being an amazing shooter and just someone we're watching. Have you spoken to her? Do you know her? What do you think?
I mean, I've been watching from afar and understanding just how much of a power she is out there on the court. The cool part is the way that she plays and her range and the level of difficulty on her shots is obviously a very close comparison to the way that I play.
I was going to say Caitlin Clark's been compared to you.
Yeah, but I think it almost robs her of like the rest of her game because she's such a good floor, she has her overall, floor game. She's racking up, close to triple doubles every night, and her shooting ability is, it's her superpower, but the rest of her game is as polished as that, and so it's must-see TV. I love what it is done for women's basketball in terms of when she shows up, the seats are filled.
And that is why his words carry more weight than almost anyone else's. Analysts can debate her, critics can call her overrated, talking heads can argue about hype, ratings, attention, and media coverage. But when the greatest shooter ever looks at Caitlin Clark and sees something familiar, people should probably listen, because Caitlin Clark is not dangerous only because she can shoot from deep. She is dangerous because the threat of that shot changes everything. The defense has to stretch, help defenders hesitate, passing lanes open, teammates get easier looks. The whole floor changes because one player has to be guarded from places where most players would never even think about shooting.
He was shooting, letting that ball fly. I watched a little bit, but then I had to do some treatment. But it was amazing. I watched the first half, but she got to go in the second half, so I didn't watch that. She could shoot it better than me.
That is the Curry effect, and Clark has her own version of it. That is the real connection between them. Not fake drama, not a viral lie, not some headline about Steph grabbing a microphone. The real story is two players connected by the same basketball idea. Range changes everything. Confidence changes everything. Fearless shooting changes everything. And the respect goes both ways. Caitlin Clark has never hidden how much she admires Steph Curry. She has talked about loving his game. She has talked about the influence he had on her style. And when she was asked which NBA player she would want to play one-on-one, she gave the perfect answer. She basically said she would get killed by every NBA player, but she picked Steph Curry anyway.
If you could play one-on-one with anybody, current, not current, who would it be?
That's a fantastic question. Current or not current?
NBA, WNBA.
Well, I would get killed by every NBA player, but Steph Curry.
You would play one-on-one with Steph Curry. I thought you were gonna say Peyton Pritchard.
That's great. Peyton Pritchard. Yes.
That answer is funny, but it also tells you the truth. Curry is not just another superstar to her. He is the blueprint.
I grew up watching Steph. To me, he's one of the greatest basketball players of all time. But I was also a kid that grew up getting to watch him, and I think he's really changed the way basketball is being played. Maybe at times, me and him both, kids shouldn't always just go and chuck a bunch of threes, but that's what makes the game so exciting and what he's been able to do throughout his career. He's really changed basketball, and everybody that's ever met him knows how good of a person he is too. So it's cool to be here. He's somebody I certainly idolize.
The freedom to shoot from anywhere. The freedom to turn a normal possession into a moment. The freedom to make the crowd stand up before the ball even leaves your hands. That is what Clark grew up watching. And now Curry is watching her do her own version of it. That is why this is bigger than a compliment. It feels like basketball lineage. Steph Curry changed what was possible in the men's game. Caitlin Clark is helping change what is possible in the women's game. Different leagues, different journeys, different pressure, but the same kind of gravity, the same panic from defenses, the same feeling that something wild can happen the second the ball touches their hands. And here is my hot take. The Steph Curry cosign might be the most important endorsement Caitlin Clark has ever received. Not because Curry is famous, not because it makes a good headline, but because he is the perfect person to judge the exact thing that makes her special. When a random commentator says Clark has deep range, that is an opinion. When Steph Curry says her release reminds him of his own, that hits different. That is the master of the craft recognizing the same pattern in someone else. And that makes the overrated debate look lazy, because people can argue about the attention, they can argue about the media, they can argue about the fan base, but the basketball is right there. The range is real, the passing is real, the pressure she puts on defenses is real. And now the greatest shooter ever has basically said he sees it too. But let's be clear, praise from Steph Curry is not a trophy. It is not a championship. It is not an MVP. It does not mean Caitlin Clark has already reached the top. She still has to build the rest of her career. She still has to keep improving. She still has to handle the traps, the double teams, the physicality, the bad nights, and the pressure that comes with being the biggest name in the league. Curry's praise is not the finish line. It is a signpost. It tells you what her ceiling could be. It tells you that what people are seeing is not imaginary. It tells you that one of the smartest shooters in basketball history watched her and understood why she feels different. So forget the fake mic grab story. The real Steph Curry and Caitlin Clark connection is better. It is about respect, influence, skill, and one revolutionary shooter tipping his cap to another player who is changing the way the game is watched. So now I want to know what you think. Is the Curry comparison fair, or is the bar still too high? And at the same stage of their careers, who was the better pure shooter? Drop your answer in the comments.